Thank you.
And that concludes the public input, and council, the matter is before us. Councilmember McEwen.
Well, I have a question for staff, if I may. When the study was done on the parking saturation on these streets, had the new Whole Foods 365 opened yet?
When the parking study was done, no, it had not been opened. And a little clarification about the parking study. It kind of showed a similar pattern, both the weekday and weekend, in terms of parking was much busier. If anything, overnight parking was actually was used during the weekend, during the nighttime. But the Whole Foods had not been in when we did this parking study.
When Whole Foods opened on Wilshire at 23rd, there was a tremendous parking impact on the surrounding neighborhood. Do we have any idea? Does this 365 store somehow require the employees to park on site? That doesn't seem to be their corporate policy. So if anything, the parking study you have shows impacts that probably have been exacerbated by the opening of that new store. Would that be a fair professional guess, at least?
I would say that's an
I'm seeing nodding heads from the residents who live there, but I know in the neighborhood around 23rd and Wilshire, residents report employees parking on their street all the time until we had preferential parking.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair statement from comments I've heard from residents on the phone as well. And that, that's a new commercial thing that you would expect more parking in the area.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, the staff recommendation to establish the preferential parking zone SS has been moved by McEwen and seconded by Davis. Councilmember O'Connor.
And I'll be the one voting no on this because the map shows that we've established almost every street in the area is now limited parking, preferential parking. So that's not the solution to the parking problem. It's probably pushed some of the parking problem onto these streets because everything else around it has been preferential parking and now it needs it. So I am sympathetic and understand their concerns, but again, I just don't think that preferential parking zones are the answer to this, and we've made a mistake going down this path, so I'll vote no.
All right, seeing no one else in the queue, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember O'Connor?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Hemmerich?
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown?
Yes.
Mayor Winter?
Yes, so that passes 5-1. And could the clerk call
13.
item 13A, please?
Item 13A is request of Mayor Winter, Mayor Pro Tem Davis, and Councilmember McKeown that the council supports Santa Monica Dreamers by allocating up to $25,000 in matching funds from the council contingency account to the nonprofit Santa Monica College Foundation or other appropriate nonprofits to assure that all Santa Monica DACA students who qualify can afford the fee to renew the DACA status by the October 5th deadline and remain in Santa Monica community for another 2 years. And that the council go on record supporting permanent legalization of DACA students, directing staff to convey that Santa Monica's support to all appropriate federal and state representatives. And you have 2 requests to speak.
All right, Councilmember McEwen, you wanted to introduce this, and then Mayor Pro Tem Davis can add anything?
Yeah, I began to forego, too late for our last meeting, when Santa Monica College announced that they were starting to gather funds. And by now, probably everybody knows the background on this. I'll just do a quick recap. We have students in Santa Monica and across the country who are in our schools, who are trying to become good Americans, who weren't born here. They were brought here as children by their parents who moved here. And so they don't have citizenship. And under the Obama administration, there was a Dreamer program, DACA, that would have allowed them to stay here and become productive members of our society, as I think they deserve to be and want to be. And the Trump administration has pulled the rug out from under them and left it up to Congress, which may or may not deal with the issue. So as a community, I was hoping that we would come together and come up with some matching funds to assure that the students here in Santa Monica who go to Santa Monica schools or live in Santa Monica will be able to afford to renew their DACA status by October 5th, which is a deadline coming up very, very quickly. And I want to thank Mayor Winter and Mayor Pro Tem Davis for joining me on this and showing this kind of solidarity from the council. We Santa Monica leaders are committed to our DACA students, and our council vote tonight will allow us to offer those matching funds to spur community donations, I hope. and make sure that every Santa Monica DACA student is able to renew, if qualified, regardless of financial need. So let's see what the public has to say about that, and then
Yeah, I was going to see if Mayor Pro Tem
Mayor Pro Tem
Davis had
Davis wants to
anything she
add to that.
wanted to add.
I think the only thing I wanted to add is that truly is a community-wide endeavor. It's not just the college and this council, but also the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District is looking for ways to support its DACA students financially as well as in other ways. So I view this as really just being part of a larger community endeavor designed to make sure that these students who were brought here as very young children and without having any say in the matter, who are essentially, for all intents and purposes, Americans raised here, have the ability to stay here if at all possible.
All right, and we'll now turn to public comment. We'll start with Jonathan Foster, followed by Layla Teslimi.
It just sounds like to me it doesn't matter what I say.
I'll be screaming at the end.
Sounds like to me it doesn't matter what I do. Looks to me, from what I've read, it doesn't matter who died, how many died, what facilitated their death, how many people it hurt, how many of their children that it's ruined their lives while it's together. Because from what I've read here, your own minds that you are doing this. And it doesn't matter who got killed, what police officer got killed, what United States of American citizens, child, wife, husband, parents, grandparents, cousins, nieces, uncles, nephews, you name it. It doesn't matter. The impact on those families do not matter, because from what I've read here, you all have already made up your own mind that it does not matter. That these people got dumped on. That's what's so disgusting about what's in this room. Disgusting child abusers. I'm a foster.
Foster.
And you people are disgusting murderers and child abusers.
Child abusers.
Go deal with this with your parents,
Dreamers.
not the people. Go deal with your child trafficker that brought you here and screwed you into this. Why am I made to take care of this? Or like I'm some bad dude. Your child trafficker did this to you. Your child trafficker is a bad dude. I didn't do this to you. The city of Santa Monica and the Santa Monica Police Department, and aiding and abetting police murderer, veteran murderer, child trafficker. You are all guilty and under arrest.
And is there a Layla Taslimi here? Welcome.
Esteemed City Council members, all of you. I've been a Santa Monica resident for all but 6 years, since 1966, when my family moved here. And I was a teacher at McKinley Elementary School for 17 years, where I had the opportunity to get to know many families and children who immigrated here, including some without documentation. Now, my own family applied for scholarships to afford the best schooling they could for me, just as I saw McKinley families sacrifice daily to set their children up for success in school. I remember from when I was a child being aware that my father was discriminated against because of where he was from, and I was aware McKinley immigrant parents and children suffered discrimination and others' racist perceptions of them. But my family was never criminalized. We never experienced any threat of deportation. What our dreamers and their families experience, particularly recently, seems really unprecedented in our history as a nation of immigrants. Same place, different times. So here we are at this place, Santa Monica, where we enjoy the freedom to speak our wishes and dreams to our local government. And I say enjoy the freedom because it's more than have the freedom. It's a joy to be able to expect that when we come to ask for what is socially just, we will be not only heard by our local government, but that you will already have had these concerns for what's just for all Santa Monicans in your plans. Thank you, Mayor Winterer, Mayor Pro Tem Davis, and Councilmember McEwen for requesting the support of Council for Santa Monica Dreamers with matching funds to SMC Foundation monies raised to pay their DACA status renewal fees And furthermore, I am happy and proud, a happy and proud Santa Monican tonight, to hear your commitment to advocate for the permanent legalization of DACA students, which includes you taking a stand to speak truth to federal and state representatives.
Thank you, and that concludes the public input, and the matter is before us. Councilmember McEwen.
Well, Council, I don't think this will be a hard one for us. Many of us actually went to Santa Monica College back before the election and experienced the courage of being documented to urge their fellow students to vote in the election. And of course, things did not go the way that they hoped, or that many of us hoped. And this was an additional heartbreak on top of many. With this vote tonight, as has been noted, the City Council joins with not only Santa Monica College, but the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District in sending a unified message from our community. DACA students are and always will be a part of our community. We'll work to keep you with us now and in the long term. So I move that we allocate the matching funds to the College Foundation or other nonprofit to support those DACA students' re-registration, and that we go on record supporting a permanent legalization of DACA students.
I would second it, but I had a question though.
Does anybody know a good treatment for a cramp?
You
Is that
okay?
your question?
No.
Rub behind your knee.
Oh, man.
I think we're talking Charlie horse here.
Like
For
a
people on the
massive
radio who
cramp.
don't know what's going on,
Not really.
this does not seem like a life-threatening situation, but
No.
you look pretty uncomfortable.
I am.
I think the council member should have played 18 holes instead of 27.
Is that something? Actually, I think staff, do we know what the number is of folks that might qualify for this in Santa Monica? I mean, because we're talking Santa Monica folks, right?
There are about 1,000 students at Santa Monica College. We know that, who are undocumented. We don't know how many might be DACA. I don't think we've gotten any new figures in, have we? I've been engaged in email conversations with the college and the district, and that's been a question we've all been unable to answer until we see who comes forward saying they need the money. That's why the request is for up to $25,000 in matching funds, because we know that there's money coming from other sources for these students. Ms. Rose, do you have any further
And just
information?
a quick update on what has been seen on campus, because they've had this one-stop center going now for the last 10 days or week or so, and they've seen close to 30 students. They've submitted applications, and they have funds set up that are really segmented so that should your action pass tonight, there'd be one for those who are non-Santa Monica College students, as well as a fund for Santa Monica College students. So the funds would be separated and used for the use that you intend.
Man, they want less than that.
Yeah, and I would just add, is my understanding, the school district doesn't collect that sort of information, so they don't really have any idea what the numbers are.
Part of the difficulty here is we are protecting people in their privacy and their status. At the same time, we're trying to help them, and
Yep.
we just don't have the ability to generate the kinds of numbers that Councilmember Vasquez asked for.
Anyway, so we have a motion by McEwen, seconded by Vasquez. Any further discussion? If not, we're spending money, so we should have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember McCune?
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmelrich?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor?
Yes.
And Mayor Winter?
Yes, so that passes unanimously of the 6 of us here. Can we have item 13B, please?
13B is recommendation to accept Suzanne Paulson's resignation from the Airport Commission and authorize the city clerk to publish the vacancy, and you have no request to speak.
Seeing no one leaping the fray, I will move to accept her, Ms. Paulson's resignation with regrets. And we'll do this by a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions?
No. And Mayor, I'd like the record to show my no vote is because I think Ms. Paulson was misled into thinking that this would somehow affect the ability of the city to do an air quality study. I don't believe her resignation was in any way necessary, and I really regret that she chose to do this, so I'd prefer to vote no.
All right, so then Ms. Paulson's resignation is accepted 5-1. And that turns us to public input. Clerk, call that item, please.
Public input.
Jeez.
Public comment is permitted only on items not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. State law prohibits the city council from taking any action on items not listed on the agenda, including issues raised under this agenda item, and you have 5 requests to speak.
All right, we will start with Denise Barton, and then it looks like John Jewell, Art Casillas, Jonathan Foster, and David Fetterman.
And good evening. Let's go back to the issue of surveillance. When I noticed the police car frequently in a position where they could possibly see in my apartment from the top of structure 2. But when I contacted the police about this, I was informed by Police Officer Bishop that if your windows are uncovered for natural sunlight, then the police can keep you under surveillance, so everyone beware. Now, next let's go back to the Housing Authority. Does anyone find it strange that the Housing Authority requires 3 months to recertify affordable housing tenants, which I do believe is an excessive time period per HUD requirements? Or maybe it's just the rule for me and other affordable housing tenants who Barbara Collins denies the appeal process that HUD requires. But yet for this reason I was denied an extension when I requested one September 20, 2017 due to possibly getting a professional assistance later this week. But the Housing Authority gave me one pack of papers to fill out saying that was all I needed. So I sat in the Housing Authority lobby and filled out the paperwork under duress. I was also told that I didn't have to go to an appointment, but nothing was said about taking me off surveillance. Now let's look again at the ways the city feels it's acceptable to treat disabled people besides eliminating accommodations for them and seniors at city council meetings. Presently, my physical disabilities are being used against me by the Housing Authority to make communication with them as hard for me as possible. By insisting that I put everything in writing, again using my disabilities and typing being a hardship. Also, please understand my questioning of my placement in an environmentally toxic affordable housing unit. Would the city have policies such as the practices of the Nazis, killing the disabled first? Thank you.
Is there a John Jewell here? The handwriting's a little hard to read. Is that correct?
It's English black letter. Yeah, it's. Could you take this down? This thing here. Can I have that down?
The clerk can take it down.
It looks really mean. I agree with Ms. O'Connor. My name is John Jewell, and I'd like to introduce some of my thoughts. I read Mr. Cole's letter on Facebook about the future. I was really interested in that. I think number one is go forward. Number 2 is how. Number 3 is scope. Make the people of Santa Monica feel safe and secure and cared about. That should be the scope. Number 4 is city council involvement, making tolerance for new medical marijuana. I thought that was interesting. Tolerance is probably the word you should focus on. Look for institutions to partner up. Communities participation should be number 5. Number 6 should be looking for institutions and partners like federal government. 7, obtain resources and people to create resources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My thoughts on manufacturing. My uncle in Canada invented exact flat, a 2D to 3D printing that is going to bring manufacturing to any community that has a 3D printer. And I'm thinking of 3D printing an Italian gondola for the marina. That's a thought. It's passed. So the train, I spoke about your email. I thought it was a very well-voiced and articulated article that went out on Facebook. And so I talked to people at the library and on the promenade, and I saw how the businesses were going away. And I thought that people like me could get a permit to not perform, but maybe to deliver things from these mom and pop shops. I could get like a message. I need a bouquet of flowers or a perfume or a rag doll from mom and pop store, and I could go get it and deliver it, and that could be my job. Is that 2 minutes?
That is your 2 minutes. Thank you for your thoughts.
Okay.
Mr. Casillas.
Good evening, Art Casillas. City Council member Kevin McEwen likes to say, quote, on item 14, the state says we don't have to help you, end of quote. But you know better than to put crime complaints on the regular agenda so as to not incriminate yourselves of your crooked, willful endangerment of me and my family and tax-paying residents of City of Santa Monica. Now, as far as City Manager Tricky Ricky Cole, another fast talker, you all keep on finding ways to bring in more tourists to our beach town, which you knowingly takes more of our police and sheriff's time and effort, leaving us taxpayers and residents at the mercy of other thugs. Now, on Friday, September 22nd, 2017, Santa Monica Daily Press, page 5, Rick Cole, Santa Monica City Manager, article, Tackling Social Challenges Together. Hey, Tricky Ricky, you had to admit crime had been on the rise, but you say you'd like to discuss these problems that you've enabled and allowed by taking our police to the Pure Promenade Palisades Park for tourists at our homes or churches. Hey, Slippery Rick, at City Council would be more appropriate since decisions and monies is what takes if you decide to rescue us. Give new City Attorney Lane Dilge a chance. Even the best lawyer needs a good case, and a liar makes for the worst client of legal rights and obligations. You allow and enable heroin and methamphetamines, drugs sold at rent-control apartments behind my brother's house. Is it to force me to shut up? And what about daycare center next door? Juan Castillo was shot and killed and no police around. Just like 3 home invasion victims, no prevention, etc. God knows and sees how you're treating us, and beware. The blood is on your hands. Thank you.
Mr. Foster.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Foster, and I'm just a homeless person in Santa Monica. I've tried to do, some cool things and never turned into anything. And, but I came to speak again on the Santa Monica Council cams. Since you want to give the police department, the Santa Monica Police Department cams, I suggested that you guys should get your Santa Monica City Council cams. Did you get your cams? Let me ask you another question. Who rode your bike to work and is riding your bike back home? Raise your hand in the council. Nobody. Boy, aren't you full of it, huh? Nobody rode their bike to work or is riding. It's warm out too. Not riding none of you. Boy, I tell you, it's full of it here. In so many ways, I know you guys try to do a lot of good things, but really I think this place has excelled in being the first at doing many things. Why aren't you first at having a council cam? Are you afraid of something? Come on, let's excel here, guys, on the cam. This guy, he's always like this. He blows me away. I've always wondered, are you going to get a cam? And be the first at that. I mean, you got these people. These are some of the greatest people ever that don't need a cam. And if you and all the other ones had a cam, they wouldn't need a cam at all, actually, if you had cams. That's the irony of the police cam. If the elected official had the cams, the police department would not need a cam. And they don't need a cam. They need some protection and a little bit of secrecy, to be honest with you. That's how it's the only way we walk up and down the street safe here. I can't believe the scrutiny that there's being put on the police department when you people could be first at having a council cam.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Is David Fetterman here? Seeing no one leaped up to the podium, then that concludes the 14 item. Mr. Fetterman?
Yes.
Your turn to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, honorable council members. I submitted a written request. Did that item make its way onto the council's agenda tonight, if I may ask? What was a written communication from me read tonight? No, the clerk told me it would be submitted for tonight, but the reason I wanted to address the council is that I'm a community gardener, and I would like to ask the council to give me permission to speak at some length to discuss a proposal for community garden term limits. And I was hoping that the council would consider this request and agendize it for the next available meeting, whether it's the meeting on the 10th or the next meeting after that. There's a wait list of nearly 600 people waiting for a community garden, and gardeners are now allowed to keep their gardens for life. So the wait list for a community garden is 25 to 30 years now, and something needs to be done. And I prepared a presentation that would take about 10 to 15 minutes, and I would ask that the council consider agendizing this presentation so that I may make my case for community garden term limits. That's the short version. I'm done for.
Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
Thank you.
Councilmember McEwen.
Yeah, since I was so egregiously misquoted by a previous speaker, I just thought I would say what I actually do tell people, members of the public, which is on 14 items, we are by state law prohibited from taking an action tonight. It seems to me the matter you brought up would appropriately go through a commission first, and you might speak to the Recreation and Parks Commission, which has the jurisdiction over the community gardens. Then once there's a recommendation or not from a board or commission, this might or might not rise to the council level. But to jump right onto a council agenda would not be the normal process, and we can't do anything about it tonight because it wasn't on the agenda. So that's the actual thing I say, is that we cannot take action on things that are on 14 items. I've never told anybody it's a 14 item, go home, I can't help you. Thanks.
Understood. Thank you very much, Councilmember McEwen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. That concludes the 14 items. I do have one adjournment in memory of Elsie Wong. We adjourned tonight in the memory of Elsie Wong, who died last week at the age of 89. Elsie was the mother of Patty Wong, Santa Monica City Librarian. She was born to a family of 10 in, boy, my Hawaiian is terrible, Waipahu, Hawaii, a small sugar plantation town. As a teenager, she was on her way to church during the bombing of Pearl Harbor. She later entered nursing school and worked as a registered nurse for more than 20 years. Elsie was a fighter in so many ways, but she loved fiercely and generously. Her life was full of giving back, teaching younger children about the importance of reading as a volunteer, chauffeuring older adults to church, bringing homemade wontons, planning and supporting library programs, and even traveling to many conferences and workshops with Patty. Elsie understood what Patty's volunteerism meant in making a change in the library profession. Elsie was interested in building community and inspired that interest in her daughter. Elsie will be remembered by her children, grandchildren, and the hundreds of lives she touched in meaningful ways throughout her 89 years. Speaking on behalf of the entire community, we convey to Patty and the rest of Elsie's family our deepest condolences. And if we don't have any other adjournments, which is always good news, then we are adjourned until October 10th.